To Sunday Night in America, Senator Chuck Grassley wrote a very direct letter to FBI Director Christopher Wray and Attorney General Merrick Garland, informing them that, quote, highly credible whistleblowers have come forward alleging misconduct by the FBI and DOJ and the handling of Hunter Biden. Senator Grassley is asking whether the Bureau and the Department covered up, quote, verified and verifiable information about Biden's alleged criminal activity. As you may recall, derogatory information about Hunter Biden was called Russian disinformation by the media and some Democrats in the weeks before the 2020 presidential election. The head of our intelligence community at the time, John Ratcliffe, said it was not Russian disinformation. But Adam Schiff gave the media a reason to ignore the story, and the media obliged. I don't think anyone is surprised that Adam Schiff would play politics. Senator Grassley wants to know if the FBI was playing politics too. And he joins us now. Senator, what prompted you to write this letter?
Whistleblowers coming to me, and I listen to a lot of whistleblowers because they know where the bodies are buried, and with evidence that a special agent in charge by the name of Thibault was making decisions of what investigations should go ahead and which one should be stopped. And we know by his social media comments that he is very, very liberal, very, very partisan. And we have evidence from these whistleblowers that he would have fuzzy information from newspaper reports about Trump and would allow an investigation go ahead. And you don't let an investigation go ahead on just fuzzy newspaper reports. Then we had concrete information about a lot of things that Hunter Biden has done, and he stopped that and labeled it as disinformation. Now, that's political interference in the FBI, and it's going to cause people to lose credibility in the FBI, and every citizen ought to have the most confidence that you could ever have in an agency like the FBI. Now, we're going to have Wray before our committee, Director Wray before our committee on Thursday, and he's going to get a lot of questions about this, and he ought to know that he's going to have to show us concrete information and plan that he's going to be able to change this culture in the FBI where there's power or party makes a decision of whether or not investigations go ahead. It's got to be no political bias whatsoever in any of these decisions.
You know, Senator, you have been in the Senate for a long time. You are very well regarded. You were one of my favorite people to bump into. You are not prone to hyperbole or conspiracies. I mean, why would Christopher Wray wait until Thursday? You wrote him a really specific letter with some specific allegations. Has he called you yet and said, listen, Senator, I need to explain this to you? Have you heard from him?
Yeah. I waited for 6 or maybe longer than that months to have a telephone conversation with Wray. And what finally got me that telephone conversation was this. When Thibault's information, that's that special agent, when his information came to me, I issued a press release and then finally got a phone call with Wray. But before I got that phone call, so this is a small compliment to Wray that maybe he wants to do the right thing, and that is that he moved Thibault out of that position of deciding what investigations go ahead and which ones are stopped. Now, where he's reassigned and what his responsibilities are, I don't know, but presumably he's being investigated for some violation of the Hatch Act. But we need more than that. We need a concrete program by Wray, and we need that Thursday when he appears before our committee, that he's going to make sure that none of this political bias ever happens again.
Senator, can the Inspector General for the Department of Justice, Michael Horowitz, help And are there any Senate Democrats that say, you know what, Senator Grassley, you're right. Politics aside, we need an FBI that we can trust and respect, and we're going to help you get the information you want. Are you getting any help?
I get all kinds of help from the Democrats when I'm investigating things in a Republican administration, but I never get any help from them when I'm investigating things in a Democrat administration.
Well said, Senator Chuck Grassley. Thank you for joining us on a Sunday night.
Thank you. Glad to be with you.
Yes, sir. If Republicans take the House this fall, Democrats may be looking for a new leader to replace Nancy Pelosi. Different names have been mentioned, like Jim Clyburn and Steny Hoyer and Hakeem Jeffries and Catherine Clark and others. Who Democrats choose as their leader after the midterms is up to them. But recently a name surfaced that you might find interesting and familiar. Adam Schiff is telling House Democrats he wants to be their leader. Schiff is a darling of the D.C. media, but maybe not his colleagues. He wasn't picked for a role in the Biden administration, wasn't picked to be in the Senate when Kamala Harris left, and wasn't picked to be the AG in California when Javier Becerra left. But he's not deterred. He wants to be the new speaker or minority leader. And I don't think New York Times or Politico reporters get to vote in that race, so I doubt Adam has much of a chance. But let's ask someone who used to sit right beside him. Former House Intel Chairman Devin Nunes joins us now. Devin, I do not doubt Adam Schiff's ambition for 1 minute, but I'd be surprised if his colleagues on the Democrat side picked him to be their leader. What do you think?
Well, Trey, I think that both you and I can attest that we don't miss sitting right next to him, and I think most of his colleagues do not either. So he's got two primary problems. One is he's a straight white Jewish dude, and if you haven't been paying attention for the last 10 years, essentially they've run, if you're not a different letter of some kind or a certain color or a certain gender or your sexual preference, I'm sorry, but you're not going to be the leader of the Democratic Party anytime soon. But for Schiff, he's got another problem, and that is, how many dead ends of hoaxes has this guy run us into? So remember, the Russia hoax, he was all over it. You and I were sitting there with him. It was constant nonsense with him out doing fake leaks, phony leaks, totally disingenuous. Then, of course, you had the Ukraine impeachment hoax. Trey, a lot of people forget this. It was initiated by him. So he has taken the Democratic Party into so many of these rat holes. And then not to mention what you were talking about with Senator Grassley, who, by the way, is an American patriot. I think our investigation of the Russia hoax would not have been as successful if we didn't have somebody like Senator Grassley there with his fortitude and his ability to sniff through all the nonsense and get right to the heart of problems. But if you remember, the Hunter Biden laptop story, as you mentioned, was also something that he went out and perpetuated. So between, I think, him not matching what the Democratic Party wants, because essentially they have to have a certain type of person as their leader, and I think match with the rabbit holes that he's brought him into, I think, Trey, it's going to be a hard place for him to be.
Devin, I don't think I have enough time left to write this book because my life expectancy is probably only about 30 years, but I was going to write a book, all the things we would never know if we had listened to Adam Schiff. I mean, you started with the Russian collusion. I first met him in Benghazi, and there was no one who did more to keep the American people from finding out information than Adam Schiff. It looks to me, I'm not from California, but he was passed over by the Biden administration. Gavin Newsom did not pick him for the U.S. Senate or to be Attorney General. I mean, is he just running into dead ends? And he probably going to be the minority, maybe the ranking member on Intel. Is he just running out of options?
Well, look, I think you also have the fact that the Republican leadership, our old colleagues, have already said the way that some Republicans have been treated, being booted off of committees, the way that Pelosi set up this January 6th scam committee and booted off certain members. There's some members who don't even have committees. I think Kevin McCarthy and others have said pretty clearly, look, a guy like this, like Schiff, is a threat to national security. And there's a few others, I think, that are on the committee. I think, Trey, you and I both know this because of their tendency to, veer from the truth. And look, I think it's fitting that Schiff represents Hollywood. He's, I think always in acting mode, if I think there's lack of a better definition. And look, this is a guy, as you well know, he can sit there and tell you right to your face that, oh my gosh, it is pitch black outside, and it'll be high noon. And he will tell you that story over and over again. And of course, the media, for the most part, has long went along with him. And I think that's what's perpetuated, his career in Congress. Because I can tell you, if you or I or Senator Grassley or anybody else that's been on the show tonight would have done the scams and the hoaxes that this guy has led the American people into, we would have been run out of town a long, long time ago.
And Devin, what used to fascinate me when I was there is I could get a pack of bloodhounds and a bunch of sleuths, and I could not find a negative word written about Adam Schiff in Politico, The Hill, The Washington Post, or New York Times. Despite striking out on so many investigations, they love to beat up on Devin Nunes. But I honestly, a pack of bloodhounds could not find a negative sentence written about him. But I got to keep my blood pressure down, so I'm going to say thank you for joining us on a Sunday night. I'll have you on to talk about a more pleasant topic next time. Thank you, Devin Nunes.
Thanks a lot. Great to be with you, Trey.
All righty. You too. Up next, Russia is on the move and cites the U.S. and NATO as its top two adversaries. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo joins us next on Sunday Night in America.